I still remember the exact moment my heart shattered into 1,000 pieces inside a shopping mall in Fairview, Ohio. December 23rd, 3 days before Christmas. I was standing behind a fake snow display, wearing a worn flannel shirt and boots I had bought at a thrift store that morning. Nobody knew who I was. Nobody recognized Marcus Hayes, the founder of Hayes Tech Industries, the man Forbes had just listed among America's 10 wealthiest entrepreneurs. That was the whole point. My team had set up hidden cameras throughout the Fairview Community Mall. We were filming for my foundation's annual Christmas documentary. Real people, real stories, no scripts, no actors, just authentic moments of kindness and struggle during the holiday season. I had done this for 7 years now, ever since I lost Lily. My daughter was 8 years old when leukemia took her from me. She loved Christmas more than anything. The lights, the carols, the snow. She used to say that Christmas was when magic became real. After she passed, I couldn't celebrate anymore. Not in the traditional way, so I started this. Anonymous giving, watching families from the shadows, trying to feel something other than the hollow ache that never quite went away. The mall was crowded that afternoon. Children lined up to see Santa, clutching crumpled wish lists in their tiny hands. Parents looked exhausted but hopeful. Holiday music played through crackling speakers. And then I saw her. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, with tangled blonde hair and a coat that was at least 2 sizes too big. She stood near the back of the Santa line, holding the hand of a woman who looked like she hadn't slept in days. The woman's eyes were red-rimmed. Her shoulders slumped forward as if carrying an invisible weight. She wore no wedding ring, but the tan line on her finger told me she once had. Something about the little girl's face made me stop breathing. She had these enormous blue eyes that seemed to hold an ocean of sadness far too deep for someone her age. When she smiled at the other children, it was a fragile thing. A smile that had learned to exist alongside pain. I moved closer, pretending to browse a display of holiday ornaments. The line moved slowly. One by one, children climbed onto Santa's lap, rattling off their wishes for bicycles, video games, dolls, the standard requests, the predictable dreams. When the little girl's turn finally came, she didn't rush forward like the others. She walked slowly, carefully, as if approaching something sacred. Santa smiled warmly, patting his knee. "Well, hello there, sweetheart. What's your name?" "Emma," she said softly. "Emma Mitchell. That's a beautiful name, Emma. Now tell me, what would you like for Christmas this year? A new doll? Some pretty clothes?" Emma shook her head. The woman behind her, her mother I assumed, pressed a hand to her mouth. "I don't want toys," Emma said. Santa tilted his head, confused. "No toys, but every little girl wants something special for Christmas." Emma looked up at him with those devastating blue eyes, and when she spoke, her voice cracked in a way that silenced everyone within earshot. "I just want my daddy to come home." The words hit me like a physical blow. I gripped the ornament display so hard the metal edge cut into my palm. Blood pooled in the creases of my skin, warm and sudden, but I didn't care. I couldn't look away from her face. Santa's smile faltered. The practiced cheerfulness melted from his face, replaced by something raw and real. He glanced toward Emma's mother, searching for guidance, but she was already crying. Silent tears streamed down her cheeks as she stood frozen behind the velvet rope. "Sweetheart," Santa said gently, "where is your daddy?" Emma looked down at her worn sneakers. "He's far away. Mommy says he's protecting people. He's a soldier." The word soldier echoed through my chest. I had spent decades building an empire of technology, algorithms, billion-dollar deals. But standing in that mall, watching a 6-year-old girl wish for something no amount of money could guarantee, I felt more helpless than I had since the night Lily died. "He was supposed to come home," Emma continued, her voice trembling. "Mommy promised, but then the bad men hurt him, and now he can't." Santa blinked rapidly, fighting his own emotions. "I'm so sorry, Emma. Can you bring him home? You're magic, right? That's what my friend Tyler says. He says Santa can do anything." I saw Santa's throat move as he swallowed hard. What do you tell a child whose belief in magic is the only thing keeping her hope alive? "I'll do everything I can," he finally said. "I promise." Emma nodded solemnly, as if accepting a sacred vow. Then she climbed off his lap and returned to her mother, who immediately pulled her into a fierce embrace. I watched them walk away, disappearing into the crowd of shoppers and chaos, but I couldn't move. My feet felt rooted to the floor. The camera hidden in my jacket pocket was still recording. I had forgotten it was there. "Excuse me." I turned to find my assistant, Derek, approaching carefully. He had been monitoring the footage from a van outside. "Sir, are you okay? Your mic picked up everything. That was." "I know what that was." Derek fell silent. I stared at the exit where Emma and her mother had vanished. "Find out everything about them. Names, address, the father's unit, his current status, everything." "Sir." "Do it now, Derek." He nodded and hurried away. I spent the next 3 hours in that van watching my team compile information about the Mitchell family. Sarah Mitchell, age 32, single mother since her husband's deployment 18 months ago, working double shifts at a local diner and a grocery store just to keep their small apartment. Sergeant Jake Mitchell, age 34, currently recovering at Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany after an IED explosion that nearly killed him. Multiple surgeries, extensive rehabilitation. He wasn't expected to make it home for Christmas. The military had told Sarah that his condition was too fragile for transport. They were sorry. These things take time. I sat in that cold van, surrounded by monitors and wires, and I thought about Lily. She never got to grow up, never got to ask Santa for wishes, never got to miss me the way Emma missed her father. But here was a little girl who still had a chance to have her father back. I pulled out my phone and started making calls. By midnight, I had spoken to 17 different people: generals, surgeons, transport coordinators, anyone with authority over Jake Mitchell's situation. Most of them told me the same thing. The risks were too high. Moving him could complicate his recovery, but I didn't become a billionaire by accepting the first answer. "Dr. Patterson," I said into the phone, pacing the length of my hotel room. "I understand the medical concerns, but I'm prepared to fund a private medical transport with a full surgical team on board, state-of-the-art equipment, whatever he needs." The line was quiet for a long moment. "Mr. Hayes, that would cost." "I don't care what it costs." Another pause. "Why?" Dr. Patterson asked. "Why would you do this for a family you've never met?" I stopped pacing. Through the window, I could see the lights of Fairview twinkling in the darkness. Somewhere out there, a little girl was probably lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if her Christmas wish would come true. Because my daughter never got the chance to have her wish granted, I said quietly, "And I can't change that, but maybe I can change this." Dr. Patterson exhaled slowly. "I'll make some calls, no promises, Mr. Hayes, but I'll try. That's all I ask." The next 48 hours blurred together in a frantic rush of logistics and negotiations. Derek coordinated with military officials while I worked the medical side. We had to secure clearances, arrange equipment, brief the transport team. Every hour felt like a battle. On the morning of December 24th, I received a text from Derek. "He's in the air." I stared at those 4 words until my vision blurred. Jake Mitchell was coming home, but I still had one more thing to arrange. I drove to Sarah's apartment myself. It was a small building on the outskirts of town, paint peeling from the walls, Christmas lights strung haphazardly across one window. When she answered the door, she looked exhausted, hollow, like a woman who had been surviving on fumes for far too long. "Mrs. Mitchell," she frowned. "Yes, can I help you?" "My name is Marcus Hayes. I run a non-profit organization that supports military families during the holidays. I was hoping to speak with you about a special opportunity." Suspicion flickered across her face. "What kind of opportunity?" "We'd like to feature your family in a Christmas Eve celebration at the Fairview Community Center. A small event, just some food, gifts for the children, a chance to connect with other families." I could see her wrestling with it, the desire to give Emma something special, fighting against the fear of disappointment. "I don't know," she said finally. "Emma's been through so much. I don't want to get her hopes up for nothing." "I understand, but I think this might be exactly what she needs." Sarah studied my face for a long moment. Whatever she saw there must have convinced her, because she finally nodded. "Okay, we'll be there." I smiled. 6 o'clock. I promise you won't regret it." As I walked back to my car, my phone buzzed with an update. Transport landed safely. Package en route. I looked up at the gray winter sky and whispered a silent thank you to whoever might be listening. Tomorrow, a little girl's wish was going to come true. The Fairview Community Center had been transformed. Twinkling lights draped every surface. A massive Christmas tree stood in the corner, ornaments catching the glow of 100 candles. Tables overflowed with food, toys, and wrapped presents, but none of that mattered to me. I stood in the back, watching the entrance, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. Derek appeared beside me. "He's 5 minutes out. The medical team says he's stable." "Does Sarah know?" "No, just like you wanted." I nodded, but my hands were shaking. Families filtered into the center, children squealing with excitement as they spotted the presents. Volunteers in Santa hats distributed hot chocolate and cookies, and then I saw them. Emma walked through the door holding her mother's hand. She wore a green dress that was slightly too big, probably borrowed, and her blonde hair had been neatly braided. But her eyes, those enormous blue eyes, still carried that impossible sadness. She looked at the tree, the lights, the joy surrounding her, and I could see she was trying to be happy for her mother's sake, trying to believe in something. "Mommy, it's pretty," she said softly. Sarah squeezed her hand. It is, baby, it really is. A volunteer approached them, offering cookies and guiding them toward a table. I watched Emma sit quietly, not touching the food, just staring at the other children, laughing and playing. She was waiting, hoping, even though she didn't know what was coming. The doors opened again and a cold gust of wind swept through the room. I stopped breathing. A wheelchair appeared first, pushed by a young nurse in scrubs. In the chair sat a man in military uniform, his leg heavily bandaged, his face pale but alert, Jake Mitchell. He scanned the room with desperate, searching eyes, and then he found them. Emma. The word was barely a whisper, but somehow it carried across the entire room. Emma's head snapped up. For a moment, she didn't move. She just stared, her small body frozen, as if afraid that any movement would shatter the illusion. Daddy. The word broke something in me. Sarah gasped, her hands flying to her mouth, tears already streaming. Jake smiled, that same fragile smile I had seen on Emma's face days before. Hi, Peanut. Emma launched herself from the chair. She ran across that room like her life depended on it, weaving through tables and volunteers, her braids flying behind her. When she reached her father, she threw herself into his arms so hard the wheelchair rocked backward. Daddy, daddy, daddy. Jake wrapped his arms around her, burying his face in her hair, his shoulders shaking with sobs. I'm here, baby. I'm home. Sarah stumbled toward them, collapsing beside the wheelchair, wrapping her arms around both of them. The three of them held each other like survivors of a shipwreck, finally reaching shore. And that's when I realized I was crying. The cameras caught everything, every tear, every embrace, every whispered word of love and relief. But they also caught me. Standing in the shadows, tears streaming down my face, watching a family reunite while my own remained forever broken. I tried to leave quietly. This moment belonged to them, not to me. I was just a stranger with too much money and too much grief, trying to buy absolution through someone else's happiness. But as I reached the exit, I felt a small hand grab my jacket. I turned to find Emma looking up at me. Are you the magic man? She asked. I crouched down to her level, my knees creaking. What do you mean, sweetheart? Mommy said someone made a Christmas miracle happen. She said a man with a sad heart helped bring Daddy home. Emma tilted her head. Your heart looks sad too. Out of the mouths of children, I managed a small smile. I just wanted you to have a Merry Christmas, Emma. She studied me for a moment, then reached into her pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. A drawing done in crayon showing a little girl holding hands with two adults under a bright yellow sun. This is for you, she said, so you won't be sad anymore. I took the drawing with trembling hands. Thank you, Emma. This is the best gift anyone's ever given me. She smiled, a real smile this time, bright and unguarded. Then she ran back to her parents, climbing onto her father's lap and wrapping her arms around his neck. I stood there holding that drawing, tears blurring my vision, feeling something shift inside my chest. For 7 years, I had been running from grief, from memories, from the empty space where my daughter used to be. I thought money could fill the void. I thought anonymity would protect me from the pain. But watching Emma with her father, watching Sarah laugh through her tears, I realized something I should have understood long ago. Healing doesn't come from hiding. It comes from connection, from allowing yourself to feel even when it hurts. A hand touched my shoulder. I turned to find Jake Mitchell standing there, leaning heavily on a crutch but upright under his own power. They told me what you did, he said. The transport, the medical team, everything. I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to thank me, Sergeant. You've already given more than I ever could. He shook his head. No, what you did, what you gave my daughter, that's something I'll never forget. You gave her faith that the world still has good people in it. He extended his hand and I took it. Merry Christmas, Mr. Hayes. Merry Christmas, Jake. As I drove away from the community center that night, I passed a church with a nativity scene on the lawn. The stars above Fairview were impossibly bright, scattered across the sky like promises. I thought about Lily, about the Christmases we shared, and the ones we never would. But for the first time in 7 years, the memories didn't feel like wounds. They felt like gifts. The documentary aired the following spring. Millions of people watched Emma's Christmas wish and the reunion that followed. They saw me crying in the shadows, the billionaire who couldn't hide his own broken heart. And somehow, that vulnerability connected me to more people than my wealth ever had. Emma still sends me drawings every Christmas. I keep every single one. Thanks for watching. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe and visit our channel for more real-life stories that remind us all what really matters.